Hello, wonderful people, and thank you for joining us for Wild Moments brought to you by Explore.org. We've got none other than Taylor McCurdy with us. Hello, Taylor. Oh, we can't hear Taylor. Don't you love it when you get
I'm
this
so
expression?
sorry. I know, and I did this whole thing about how I'm so happy to be here and thank you for having me. And I muted myself.
I think it's just something that you and Ali like to do. This happens with Ali a lot as well.
I get too excited and I forget that technology is not on my side most of it.
That's okay. I know all about getting way too excited, and I hope that you guys are all way too excited as well because today we're very purist. We're doing exactly what Wild Moments was intended for, and that is to go through some of the best clips this week. So, usually, I mean, it's not as if things are happening crazily on the cams all the time. So, sometimes we have kind of little themes, and then we'll go through certain things. Like last time, what was our theme, Taylor? It was injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But this time we're purists because the cams have been really giving this week. So we're going to go through some of the cool clips that we've experienced over the cams, and then have some really awesome discussions, some really interesting clips, I must say. Anyway, if this is the first time that you're joining us, welcome. This is live and interactive, so you can send through your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you. In fact, we've got some coming through already. Amber Co, you said hello to Trishala and Taylor. Thank you for your gift of time and knowledge. Thank you, Amber. Rolling Trouble. Hi, Rolling Trouble. You say hello, Trish and Taylor from Washington. Dear NC says good morning, Trish and Taylor from Seattle. You ready with your coffee? Wonderful. And then Gemma says good day from a rainy New Jersey. You're getting your cup of tea ready now. Oh, Kirsten's going to love that. Kirsten's very much a tea girl. Anyway, let us get into the first clip. So this one's of a little baby buffalo that took a trip that was probably not what it wanted. So this is at Rosie's Pan. And I must say it's wonderful to have these buffalo at Rosie's. You don't see them too often.
It looks like quite a nice casual scene, hey? Just an evening swim and a drink. Oh,
Oh,
that's rude.
that's one way to wake your child up.
Oh my goodness.
That baby looks stunned. What on earth just happened to me? Yeah, somebody please check on me. Gosh.
Oh my goodness, that was really quite something. And I can't English.
But just like you said, Taylor, everything seemed so calm. Everyone was totally relaxed.
My worst thing here is that mom's completely like unperturbed by the entire situation. She's just like, oh well, I'll off to have a drink. Yes, I would also move out of the way very quickly if I were that little buffalo. I can't believe
Shame.
that. Unprovoked. But it's so interesting. I mean, you see, oh, the buffalo politics are quite something. But normally it's between the bulls. You always see them pushing and shoving everyone around, and especially around the water, everybody wants to have a drink. Although there seems like there's plenty of water at Rosie's Pan,
Yeah.
but that's crazy. And I've actually seen a couple of times on young buffalo little holes sort of just on their flanks, and I'm wondering if it's from something similar to what we've actually just witnessed, because I couldn't quite work it out. I thought maybe a horn, but wow,
But then
that
you're
was quite
wondering,
something.
well, how? Because it
Yeah,
doesn't make sense for a baby buffalo to be flipped unless it's being protected or they're trying to attempt to protect it from something trying to kill it.
yeah.
I'm so
It's not
glad
even
we're
like,
having another.
sorry.
No, no.
That's rude. I mean, I can't actually
Oh,
believe that it was so unprovoked that it's not like the calf was particularly in the way. It seems like there's a fair amount of place to move around, and she was just not having it. Is she also heavily pregnant? Is she just a bit moody? I wonder what
Well,
her problem is.
her teeth are hanging quite low, so she's either got a calf or is expecting one. But
Oh, look
still,
at that. Here she comes. She's just like, actually, no, thank you so much.
oh,
And it's just unbelievable how resilient these animals are. Obviously, when we were talking about animal to be tossed into the air, then thrown onto the top of the horns, and pretty much not quite body slammed into the ground, but a move that we've definitely seen from some wrestling shows to get up and just
yeah,
shrug it off and carry on. I wouldn't.
no. I mean, I'd lay a strongly worded email to that female, first through my mother, of course, but there would be a
Yeah.
complaint that would be laid. Um, as to why you think she did that, what do you think?
Gosh, I feel like, buffalo are just buffalo. I
Mm.
don't know if you've ever seen there's so much footage of buffalo just being angry all the time. And I know we can't label them as that, but I think there's also a reason why African buffalo were never domesticated. There has to be multiple reasons behind that. But did you ever see the sighting that came out of the Kruger National Park where the buffalo angered an elephant calf and then mother elephant came in and tossed the buffalo, which was quite something.
No.
So I feel, and I've also seen it in the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, it's a wild place that. I've also seen it on another reserve where buffalo have gone up and chased rhinos around too for no reason. And I'm just kind of like, hey, now, just settle down. Everybody can graze on the same grass. There's enough to go around. So I honestly am not really sure what was going through that buffalo cow's head. I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
Um, yeah, I have no idea. It feels, again, you don't want to label buffalo, but when it comes to moodiness, they seem to be quite moody and unpredictable. Yeah. Their buffer zone is substantially smaller than many of the other animals, you know.
They're like
Um,
inches.
but you know, Taylor, we always speak about how animals give you signs. You know, they don't just run up to you and attack you. Those things. Uh, but it doesn't. It's not always the case, and I think this is something that's a really good example because I would have never, if I was just watching that cow, I would have never said that she was about to toss a calf up into the air.
No, I completely agree with you. I think in Buffalo also, notoriously well known for not giving, the greatest warning signs anyways. But I completely agree. I would never have expected that either. So maybe she's just got some beef with the other cow and she thought she'd see, oh, that's what I did there. And she just thought she'd teach that youngster a lesson. For what reason? I have no idea. Collateral damage? Maybe.
I mean, you just these relationships can be so much more complex than we understand, and they live in a big group, and maybe there is a greater depth to
Hmm.
familial relationships and alliances and friendships that we are unaware of. But either way, it's a very interesting clip, not something I've seen before.
No, I've never seen anything like that personally, just, other footage, but it's few and far between, that's for sure.
Bob from Kalamazoo, you say, good day, ladies. Zygote says, hi, Trishala and Taylor. Kauru, you say, wow, poor thing. Wow, and poor thing indeed. Mindy Tillapau, you say, always a pleasure to have girl power. Hi, Mindy. Thank you for joining us. Mike Lenz, you say one buffalo pushes the baby in the butt. Yeah, I'd say that's one way to wake up another. Yes, it reminds me of being woken up for school at certain times. Rolling Trouble, you say poor baby, I'm sure. And then Mike Lenz says, I'm surprised the baby's still alive after that. I think that the baby got a little bit lucky because it seemed to lift with the where the horns are meeting as opposed to one of the ends of the horns, which I think, like
Yeah.
you said, you sometimes see them with a hole. But again, so resilient. Taylor touched on that. And they're going to probably grow up just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let us get on to the next clip. We have a baby Ellie who had a bit of a panic. So this is at Olifant's River.
Oh, shame. That little one was fast asleep.
Now, both baby and adult elephants will sleep lying down. It's just that babies tend to do it more often, and that's in across all mammal species. Babies tend to sleep a lot more.
I suppose there's that myth around it's not lying down to sleep, especially adults, because their organs will, you know, crush upon themselves and cause all sorts of havoc. But I mean, I think I probably used to say that many years ago, but thankfully I've seen enough elephants sleeping that I know that's not really true anymore, and they sleep for long periods of
Yes.
time.
So off the family goes.
Where are we going back to?
I
Oh
think little
no.
Bob is still asleep. Oh,
I just want to say, how good is the Zoomy though for picking that up that the young
yes.
calf was actually left behind? Oh no. Shame, this is going to be very traumatic.
Oh,
Hello, mom?
can I smell you?
Yeah, I can't smell you, can't see you, can't hear you. Oh no, this is so sad. This poor little elephant. Oh no,
Oh
don't go that way.
no.
I'm really surprised by this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, with the strong herd mentality, it's very unlikely that an elephant will get left behind unless it was really sick or injured, and the herd tries to normally wait around for those individuals. But for a youngster, oh no, shame.
At least it's running in the right direction, which means that
Oh
it's
no,
definitely picked up on the scent.
keep going. Oh, made a bit of a U-turn there. Carry on. I don't think it was that far away from the adults either. Hopefully
Yeah,
not.
I
I
mean, I
mean, no.
think this reminds me of
Oh,
being
there they
lost
are.
in a grocery store, and I, being so small, think that I can't, that my parents have left me, but they know exactly where I am.
This is also true. Maybe it's a lesson that this youngster needs to learn. Look, oh, the whole herd is kind of turning back and seems to be focusing in the direction of the little one. See the twisting of the trunk of that one on the right, kind of like nervous, unsettled. Oh, finally. Phew.
Where? I can just imagine how it must have been screaming.
Oh, there we go. I love how mom, if that is mom, that it eventually met up, didn't also seem to be too phased by the whole situation. Like, oh, find its way.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, the problem with obviously being a wild animal and a wild baby animal left out is that in that small gap, you could also come across potential predators. But I'm 100% sure that the adults and the herd knew that baby was still there. But doesn't mean that baby knew. I can
No.
really empathize with that situation. I've been lost at a grocery store many a time, but apparently I wasn't lost. But I thought I
I
was
was
lost.
I was going to say, I think I've been in the same situation, but I don't think I wandered away. I think it was a strategic maneuver from my mother. Just needs a break. I'm not teasing. She loves me very much.
She's left in the cereal aisle. Let's just leave her. I'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm glad that that little one did manage to find its way. I mean, we actually see lost animals all the time. Okay, maybe not as frequently with an animal like elephants, but if I think of impala, lambs, and wildebeest calves, quite often when chaos erupts in an open plain because predators have come charging through and it's kind of like fend for yourself and everybody disperses, then quite often, you'll see these young animals on their own just going high. And a few times I've had it where they've come up to the car and followed me around. I'm going, no, 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 absolutely
Mm,
not. Like, kind of can't have it. It's heartbreaking. And,
yeah.
like we say, with elephants, of course, the mothers are mighty defenders and protectors. But with some of the other sort of smaller animal species like the antelopes and stuff, it's not really a good chance of survival for them if they get stuck out on their own.
No, and I've also seen where they sometimes run towards the predator because
Oh,
they seem to be
yes.
so confused.
Yeah. Oh
And
no,
so
that's yeah,
it's
that's
almost like
not.
they're just looking for some sort of connection or some sort of familiarity,
Mm,
but they have none. So they just run up to what they think is potentially family, and then it's not, and it is very, very sad. But
yeah,
also, it is also something that is important in terms of the animal's ability to survive. I'm talking from the parent's perspective because a parent can always reproduce again. And if a parent dies, it's a death sentence for the child as well, for the young as well. So almost always, and you see it quite often, the parent, if it is in really a bad situation and you can see the predator's right there, it's going to kill somebody, the adult will run away and will leave
yeah,
the because
exactly.
unfortunately it makes sense if it's just, it makes sense. But luckily, this ended well for the little baby. Kaoru, you say, "Oh gosh, that baby Ellie, poor thing, looks so lost." It did. You know when it just woke up and it picked up its head and was
It's a little trunk went. Oh gosh.
like, exactly. Shame. It was very hard sore. Zygote, you say, "Mums normally don't leave such a small baby alone." Yeah, I've not seen such a small baby alone before, but maybe because remember it was sleeping with the other slightly older calf. So maybe the mother felt that it's with another elephant. Um, but I've also not seen that young a calf alone. Have you, Taylor?
No, not particularly, but if it, when I mentioned that there was one elephant that was kind of twisting its trunk, like, like not sure about whatever was going on, and then that calf seemed to eventually find its way to her. So I'm assuming maybe that's mom or an aunt, but if it's mom, she didn't look particularly large. And I know genetics plays a huge role in the size of an animal, but maybe she's a first time young mother and just a bit inexperienced and forgot that she actually had a calf that she has to look after. I mean, I don't necessarily know if that's possible, but we see it happening with humans all the time. You just forget because something else is happening, and the herd mentality. If we move, we all move together, and then of course the roles of the creches. It's not always
Mm,
mom with youngsters. It might be an older sibling or a cousin or just another individual within the herd looking after the young individuals. And they apparently didn't do a very good role at roping all the youngsters in and go, we're heading off.
yeah. I think that's an excellent point, an excellent, excellent point, because she did look quite young. And so many things you said there just were like ding, ding, ding. Herd mentality coming in, but then also this maternal instinct, but which overrides which, and there's just so many things coming into
Yeah.
play. That was an excellent thing to bring up. Tim, you would like to know how good is their eyesight at night? It's pretty good. You can see that they have a tapetum lucidum. That's the thing that gives the eye shine. And you see that we can see the dots where the eyes of this little calf are. So that layer of reflective cells in the retina allow the light that's coming in. So normally light comes into your eye and it hits the back of your eye, and that's the one chance you get to collect information about what you're seeing, light information. And so when you have this reflective layer of cells that we don't have, it reflects the light back out and then back into the retina. So it gives the animal the chance to collect that light twice. So their nighttime eyesight is not as good as, say, a predator or a cat specifically, or any particularly nocturnal predator or nocturnal animal, but it is pretty good. It's as good as any other antelope can see at night. Remember that they've only got 2 color cones, so green and blue, so not seeing reds, but they also have the advantage of that tapetum lucidum. So it wouldn't be terrible, but it's not what they're relying on to meet up again with. They're relying on a sense of smell and also being able to hear what's happening.
I have to say that was one of the best descriptions of the tapetum lucidum and its function and animal nighttime vision. So if you can send me a voice note with what you just said afterwards, that was really interesting to understand, because I don't know, I find it always quite difficult to break it down into sort of layman's terms to explain it that way. So it's pretty epic.
Well, thank you. I've always loved eyes. I remember one time way back when me being me, if you know me, Taylor knows me. So I had asked for Alex and some of the other people who were coming in from town to please bring me some eyes. And for me, this is a completely normal request. I mean, go to the butcher or wherever and ask them for any off-cut eyes they've got. This is a normal request. And then they came back with ice because they thought I meant ice.
Me close, almost. I would have brought you back eyes. I would have gone from a sheep and all of them. One animal if you went to your local butcher, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You're just after my
There would have been
heart,
on ice, perhaps, but you know.
Double whammy. But anyway, Alex did afterwards offer to go to some place and get me actual eyes, but it was all good by that time. Anyway, let's head over to the next clip, which is a super interesting one. It's something I've never seen before, and the opportunity to see something like this is probably non-existent if we didn't have these cams. So let's have a look. Oh yes, it is what you think it is.
I'm trying to figure out what species of bats these are. They're little free-tailed bats.
They are free-tailed bats, but there are several different species of free-tailed bats in southern Africa.
My bad knowledge. Wow. Hey.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to see that again after this is done, because there we go. Okay. So it's obviously getting into position there. Sorry, say again, Taylor?
No, I completely agree. Definitely trying to get into position. Is the male bat, the one on top, biting the back of the female? It is. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's like
it is.
Huh.
Because you can actually see his penis just before he is actually able to penetrate. But I don't know if he's biting or if he's smelling the back of her neck. But it looked like he was nibbling it.
Absolutely. I tried to do a lot of research today on bat copulation, and my mind is completely blown. I unlocked a whole new level of research, and I cannot believe I didn't know half of the stuff before. It just goes to show you how much you can learn after being in the industry for some time.
But it's one of those things, because we don't see bats that often. One, we don't see bats that often. We hardly ever get to put them on camera because they're so quick. And guests don't really ask about them. And it's unfortunate, it's just an unfortunate thing. But when we get clips like this, then we get to open that new door of research. So why don't you tell us the top things that you learned, Taylor?
I read a couple of articles that I'm not convinced is true, and I'm going to have to do further research on them. But so we have a bat problem in this roof. we have a serious bat problem and they drive us
Oh,
insane. But the last thing that we want to do, of course, is eradicate them because, I like to think that I'm some kind of a conservationist. So it's a matter of trying to encourage them to get out and maybe put up bat houses, more suitable housing for them. But the chaos that goes on in that roof at nighttime when they're supposed to be out and about and doing their thing makes me think that there's much copulation going on. But I think bats, well, from what I've read, that bats are actually quite seasonal as to when they're doing mating. But isn't it around about now? They normally say in South Africa, at least, it's around autumn that
yeah.
that they start mating for the different bat species. Obviously, it'll vary slightly. And then the other thing that I was super surprised about is that when they mate, the females are actually able to store the unfertilized sperm, which I thought was pretty amazing. So, there's actually no insemination that's going on in that moment of copulation. And they're trying, unless I've read a bunch of different things that are completely incorrect. So I'm hoping you'll help save me here. And then they normally will sort of prolong that period and coincide it, when there's more in the summer months, essentially. And then basically the females will go, okay, cool, sperm, you can do your thing now. And then the youngsters are, what do you call a baby bat? Is it an infant? No, not like I don't even know what you call a baby bat. I don't know. Someone help us. Batlet?
There though, there in my hair.
I don't know. So I thought that was pretty amazing and quite a unique feature because we see something similar to that, not quite the same, but in arthropods specifically. And I mean, for me, I'm like, wow, that makes sense why bats are actually so successful, even though we don't really see them very often. They are incredibly successful and super important for the ecosystem as pollinators and seed dispersal roles. But, by not producing when times are sort of tough during the drier season, it doesn't make any sense because there aren't that many trees that are fruiting if you're a fruit bat. There's also not so many insects around. So by prolonging that period and coinciding it with rainy seasons is pretty epic. Like I said, we see that with insects, but they don't do quite the same thing. They just have different stages during their metamorphosis kind of thing. So it slows down and then they might hatch out their cocoon or whatever species we're talking about. I really didn't know that, and I thought that's so clever. I didn't think a mammal was capable of doing that.
It is very, very cool. Just before we get in, it's a pup. Kirst reminded me.
Pup, of course.
Exactly.
I'm writing that down.
The sperm storage thing is such a cool thing because I think, at least from what I read, they could store sperm for up to 7 months, which is incredible because it's a lot. And also, sperm is really, really heat sensitive. Like really heat sensitive. In fact, one of the theories as to why many animals have a scrotum, i.e., testes that hang outside of the body, is so that it can be cooler than the rest of the body. And there might also be something to do with if a female has a fever and it would indicate sickness, then the sperm would die. But I mean, that's a little bit more murky. But bats maintain a really high body temperature. Bats' average body temperature is something between 37 degrees Celsius, like 1 degree Celsius. So they get really, really, really hot. So how is the sperm surviving in these females for 7 months? I don't know. But I think it's super cool. It's amazing.
I'd definitely like to do further research. Like, is there a specific place where it is stored? I don't know if you read that. I didn't quite get that far. I really just did some like surface reading because I want to make sure that my sources are reliable.
So from what I understand, so normally there'd be like a sperm pocket if, say, an arthropod is storing sperm. There's a specific sperm packet that it stores it in, or as it receives it puts it in a specific place. But with bats, they don't seem to do that. It seems that the sperm arranges itself in the oviduct. But I need to do further research on it as well. But it's really amazing.
You can see me jotting things down because it's really fascinating.
The other thing that I would like to share with you, because I remember, so when I was in university, we were working with bats quite a bit, and that's where I learned to love bats, because we used to have these, in KZN, we had these little banana bats that would kind of sleep in these rolled up banana leaves. Tiny things, beautiful tiny things. They're amazing. Anyway, I can still remember this slide. It was a bat in all its glory in my biology class, fully erect. And
Okay.
its penis and testes looked like it took up about half its abdomen. It was humongous.
Wow.
And further research, and as I actually paid attention to the lecture, I found out that bats' testes, that's testes alone, can take up as much as 8.2% of that bat's body weight.
If you saw how my handwriting just changed.
So they're extremely well endowed, but that is linked to the more animals you're mating with. So the more promiscuous a species is, the more they're going to invest in particular machinery to help them out with that. But then also, large testes have been linked to a smaller brain size, which is also interesting. Take
Makes
what you
sense.
will, but I
Makes
have read
sense.
this.
Okay.
This is some amazing stuff. I mean, bats are absolutely amazing, and the clips that we've seen over the last week are insane. You would also be able to tell that we've gone over time, and that's because we started a little late, and also because we got a bit into it. But now it is time to say goodbye. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Taylor, especially, thank you very much.
Thank you for imparting on all your wonderful information. I'm also very privileged to be in the presence of you and all of you who joined the show.
Exactly. All of you that joined, thank you so much. I'll get the last comment. Grumpy old man that says, baby vampire bats are called little suckers. And I think that is very appropriate. And thank you for that comment to end the show. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. See you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.